Hey guys, Seán here with another episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. In today's episode, because I've done minus run this week, we're going to be talking about different running injuries and exercise you can do to limit them happening. You can never fully prevent injuries, but you can limit them with certain different exercises. So we're going to be talking about that, as well as starting the episode talking about how Conor got down to a sub 25k. So that's pretty much all the talking from me. It's straight into today's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. Enjoy.
Let's go, come on.
Oh, you're in a rush to go for a run after, are you?
Dying to go for a run. Actually, I did have one
You
injury.
haven't ran all week. You've been depriving yourself of running.
Just my calves. That's the only kind of injury. But it's not really an injury. It's just I get sore calves. That's it.
Right, come on, let's start. This is the
Right.
whole.
But I'm not going to bring that up.
Okay. Let's not bring up a running topic.
I'm not going to bring up something that's related to the topic we're discussing.
Yeah, that'll make too much
Man.
sense.
All right, yeah. All right, you goat. Come on, get it going.
Greatest of all time.
Thank you. Thank you. With that confidence in me. Hey guys, Seán here, and welcome to another episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. Once again, I am joined by the three lads on Zoom. So say hello, Aaron.
Hello.
Say hello, Eric.
Hello, Eric. You go.
Go ahead, say hello, Conor.
Hello, Conor.
Conor, we're going to start with you straight away, right off the back, getting straight into it like we always do in the podcast, because we know what our intro or know what our chit chat talk about. Conor, you ran your best 5k time in 19 minutes 39 seconds. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah,
19:39 right. Over the last 5 weeks of stuff with your challenge with Aaron. And we're not going to talk about the challenge with Aaron. And what we're going to talk about is, what would you say is the biggest reasoning for you getting your time down to 19 minutes 39 seconds over the last 4 or 5 weeks? Because you went from 21:31 down to 19:39 in 5 weeks. So what have you been doing the last 5 weeks, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, we can't talk about a challenge because it wasn't really a challenge anyway. You have to have competition for it to be a challenge, but
Is there enough ceiling space for your head there?
But yeah, so look, I suppose before this 5k for time wouldn't have been something I really would have focused on. So I was coming into this with kind of a best time of 21 minutes 30 seconds, and look, over the course of the 5 weeks, I slowly saw some kind of improvement. So I went from 21:30 to 20:54, then 20:29, then 20:24, and then finally obviously broke the 20-minute mark there last week. And I suppose the big thing for me that I really attribute that time to is interval running. So I suppose up until the kind of the 5 week plan, I'd never done any interval runs with the exception of in hurling training, and certainly not with a specific time in mind, but just really by happenstance, I suppose. A lot of our hurling sessions over the last number of weeks have had interval runs as kind of a key component of the sessions, and the times that we were shooting for would tend to, I suppose, work or equate to kind of a 4 minute per kilometre pace, obviously, which is going to be in and around a 20-minute 5k. So, for me, that was kind of the big difference. And I suppose, look, just to kind of give people an idea of what we were doing. So, some sections we do like a 12-minute run, for distance. And again, the idea would be to try and hit 3 kilometers, plus. We would do things like 570 meters in 2 minutes. And then we would do that, 8 reps of that. 320 meters in 1 minute, 10 reps of that. And then, full 1 kilometer runs, multiple times, again, at a complete all out max effort. So, again, we would do run 1 kilometer as hard as you can, take 2 minutes rest and go again. So I suppose, that really kind of got me used to running at a higher pace. And I'd never say it was comfortable anyway. I mean, look, if anyone can see my heart rate during these runs, it's at like 190, 195 for the entire run. So look, even though I kind of saw that improvement, it never got easier. I just got a little bit fitter, a little bit better, a little bit more used to it. But definitely for me, I think the big difference, and for anyone looking to kind of hit that 5k best time, interval runs are essential.
Were you changing just the distances in terms of your 570 meters one day, the 1 kilometer the other day? Were you just changing that over 4 or 5 weeks? Was the intervals multiple times a week, or were you changing the rest periods as well? Like, were you going like you said 570 meters and 2 minute rest? was that then like, you know, in 2 weeks' time going to 90-second rest, or was it just the distances that kept changing?
So I suppose both. So again, I mean, in terms of our plan, we tend to have a kind of I suppose the week would tend to focus predominantly on speed runs. Now, I mean, there was other kind of shorter intervals there, you know, 82, 85 meters, 150 meters as well, you know, but I suppose for the sake of this, it kind of makes more sense to talk about those medium to longer, you know, intervals. And, you know, the distance and the rest periods changed. I don't think that it was a case that we were specifically looking to, you know, to change one or the other. It was more, I suppose, about, you know, ensuring that we're continuing to operate and train in a manner that's hurting focus. So I suppose you talk about the, you know, for example, the 320 meters in 1 minute. So obviously you have 1 minute of running to, you know, to obviously make that distance, and the idea being that you would hit that distance on the 1 minute. You then get 1 minute then to rest. So basically for the length of time we were running for that, you got an equivalent rest period. The same for 507 meters in 2 minutes. You know, actually in that case it was 90 seconds rest. So again, a little bit less of a rest period than the time you were running. And for the 1 kilometer then, obviously if you're hoping to, you know, to kind of, I suppose you're running that 1 kilometer at max effort. So for most people on the team, we were kind of hit, you know, anywhere from, you know, I suppose 3 minutes, 30 seconds for the guys that are probably a little bit quicker and a little bit fitter, even less in some cases. Those lads know who they are. It wasn't me. But you know, and then up to, you know, 4 minutes and you know, for other guys then and a little bit longer. So again, we were getting 2 minutes rest in between each rep there.
So with the exception of the 1 minute kilometer, your team as a whole was asked to do, it was almost like a beep test, get from point A to point B in 320 meters. And then when it came to the 1K, it was pretty much all out as fast as you can to separate the faster guys from the goalkeeper, I suppose, for lack of a better term.
Oi.
The half.
Goalkeeper's not like here and
No
that.
goalkeepers, huh?
But you're not wrong though, yeah. So again, and I suppose it kind of, even though we refer to them all as intervals, yeah, I suppose the method is a little bit different. One is obviously, you're right in saying it's a beep test. Essentially, you're trying to hit a specific distance within a specific time. You know, other runs are, you know, like our 12-minute runs or the kind of the 1 kilometer max effort runs. That's about, you know, that's about timing. You know, so
How many kilometers max effort would you do? 3, 4, 5,
6.
6.
Six. So it'll be, you know, so six 1 kilometer runs with 2 minutes rest in between each kilometer. You know, and again, the point being that
what pace would you hit at your max effort runs, just for perspective compared to
pace? So I think for those, so I think for me, I think the first couple of kilometers I was coming in kind of in or around about the 3:30 mark per kilometer. So, you know, and again, that's me going absolutely all out, knowing that I have that 2 minute break in between, so I can give it, you know, full effort. Now, obviously, as the kilometers go on, you know, and you get towards the last 2 or 3, you know, your pace starts to dip, and towards the end, I would have been kind of probably slightly over that 4 minute mark then per kilometer. But, you know, I think, you know, and again, kind of goes back to, you know, kind of how you improve. I think, you know, that for me was very, very difficult because I don't really like running at a quick pace. I think I've come to decide that I'm now a hurler who likes the long runs and nothing else. You know, but I think that, you know, definitely being able to put yourself into that kind of a scenario whereby you're forced to run quicker, you know, that's really going to benefit you in some kind of a shorter distance run.
How's the body feeling with the intervals? Sorry, one last question on the intervals, so we kind of switch gears a little bit on it. How many times a week are you doing interval training?
3. Yeah.
3. So it was basically 3 times intervals, and then was there any other running during that week, or was it all just intervals to build up to the 5K? Now, I know before you answer that, to preface it, you've obviously had a base in terms of you've done marathons before, you've done half marathons, 5Ks, you've done different things, so you've had that foundation. So if someone's there just going, oh, I just need to do interval runs to get 5K, you kind of need a base beforehand, because you were running 21:31 on that running on that foundation before then. So did you in the last 5 weeks just go all out on intervals, or was there other runs involved in there as well?
So I suppose it's kind of, yeah, there's kind of, I suppose, two elements. So I mean, the first obviously being that, you know, because we're still getting our hurling sections sent out to us, and we're, you know, we're obviously tracking those for the last couple of weeks. And obviously, as part of that, there's no real long distance running, and even there's no specific 5K runs. So for me, what I was doing was I was basically kind of using the hurling training midweek as my kind of my cornerstone of my training, and then I would only run a 5K then as a purely an attempt at a personal best.
Gotcha.
I suppose then at the weekends, when my body was feeling good, I used that then as as kind of an option to do a long run. So, Easter weekend I got a half marathon distance in, but again, that's not exactly part of the hurling sessions.
I got you. So I keep hitting the mute button after drinking the water. I went down the wrong hole. I keep coughing, so trying to get the coughing off, and Aaron keeps making faces at me over that.
What are you making faces for?
No, he caught me hitting the mute button.
I kept Corona.
Speaking of paces and stuff like that and building up, what tends to happen to me a fair bit now, and it's happened again, is I'll build up my 5K pace. I'll get under a 4:40, 4:30 over a 5-10K mark, and then my calves will start going at me. So I went out for a run on Tuesday. It was actually a recovery run. Of course, I didn't do a warm up because it was just a recovery run. And my calves started niggling at me. I was like, take it easy. So I waited this Saturday. And I was like, I went to do my long run. I was aiming for 10 miles. And I got 2-3K in. And I felt that niggle start getting stronger and stronger in my calf. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to chance this anymore. And it always happens when I push the pace a little bit too much and I neglect my calf training. I ran with Eric last year doing the night run last April.
Yep.
And of course, we 2-3 kilometers into it. And I was like, Eric, my calves are at me. And he's like, you're going to finish this race. And I'm like, I know how to finish a race. And then by the 7th kilometer, the whole thing just went to me. And I ended up limp running because we had another friend in it that was catching up with us. And I was like, she's not beating me. She's not beating me. She's not beating me. So I had to limp run through the rest of it. But I ended up doing that stupid ego. I ended up I couldn't train then for 5-6 weeks. So today when that happened, I was kind of like, just pull it back. But the reason I bring that up to switch gears on it is my calves have always been an issue, but I don't think they're the main source of the problem. Because I've had problems before, my hamstrings, my lower back, and I feel like everything's connected. There's a thing called the joint by joint theory, where if one is suffering, other things have to work. And what I believe what's happened to me is my glutes are weak, my backside's weak, and when they're not firing, I feel like my calves are being overworked. So I actually don't think my calf, like, guys struggle with building their calves. Like the rumor is that Arnie got like implants and stuff in his calves. I have no idea if it's true or not. It just popped into my head there to make them look bigger. My calves are pretty big because they're like overworked.
Because of the implants, Sean, yeah?
Because of the implants, yeah, of course.
Implants.
But I feel they're overworked because my glutes aren't overworked. And like Eric had a knee injury before the marathon last year, and correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, I know I'm right, and I'll tell you why I know I'm right in a second. Your knee was at you, and you end up going to one physio, didn't work. You went to another physio, and they start focusing on your groin and your adductors and stuff like that. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just small muscles in around the knee leading up towards the hip. So they always reckon as well, like you say, the joint by joint, that if you have a problem in the knee, it usually comes from above as opposed to below. But yeah, I had to get the dry needles into the leg because one muscle on the interior side of the leg actually was so tense, it was totally overworked, and it actually couldn't relax. By doing that, it was putting severe pressure in on the right hand side of the knee, just below the kneecap. And so by putting in the needles, it relaxed the muscle. And then within a day or two, I felt a massive difference then when I went for a run. But I also had to then work on strengthening up the other muscles in the knee, single leg squats and stuff, to try and get them all, I suppose we're going to say it quite often during this, get them all firing again and working the way they should be. So, it was quite worrying though. If 3 weeks ago to the marathon, I couldn't run a kilometre without my knee hurt.
So what's happened there is the knee is supposed to like stabilize around the leg, whereas it's supposed to be mobility from the ankle and the glutes. I'm trying to get too technical doing this, but if your glutes weren't firing up, your knees getting more mobile, which is going to cause the issue. And that's why I know why I know it, because I sent you a load of different things to do on it. And one thing was get a barbell and smash inside your leg. And it's absolute. If anyone's ever done it, it is so painful. It's like excruciating. And of
That's
course, Eric got.
that's when your knees are functioning, and then when you do it, when it's actually sore, it's very sore.
Yeah. So like that's what the single leg squats and stuff is working on firing up the glutes as well as trying to get that stability working on the knee, because your knee wants to go, your body wants to go over the place, and you're trying to straighten up that knee. And not like a huge problem people have. I'd say like 30-40% of people that have injuries, a lot of it be runner's knee. So it's like pain underneath the kneecap, underneath the patella there, and you'd be like, well, there might be something wrong with my knee. But similar to Eric, the problem could actually be you need to straighten up your glutes, because you need that strength in the glutes to fire when you're running, instead of the knee overcompensating, doing all the work. And sometimes you have to, pull the running back a little bit, do a bit less running, maybe do more cycling to strengthen up the quads if that's the problem as well. And we're going to run through just quickly through these different injuries, and you'll find that in a lot of cases, there are some exceptions where the source of the problem is not the main part of the problem. Now, some of them, like Achilles tendon, if that's really sore when you're running, the Achilles tendon is like small part just above your heel. Now, if that's really sore, you just stop completely, because if you rupture that, you are bojangled, you are screwed, you're gone. So, and that's literally just working on eccentric work on your calves, is like slowly down and up and steps and all the rest. And that's specific to that area. But, if you've got hamstring issues, like the back of your legs are really weak. For example, if I was to say, Aaron, list off a couple of strength exercises for your legs.
Squats, shot.
Yeah. Anything else?
Romanian.
I'm actually surprised you said deadlifts. But a lot of people can't.
He didn't say anything about next.
He just said Romanian.
He was going with Romanian deadlifts. But a lot of people, especially if they're doing bodyweight stuff, will do squats and lunges, but they won't do anything for the backs of the legs. So the quads the front of your legs get really strong, but the back of the legs aren't getting that strong. So they miss out like on doing like single leg deadlifts or Romanian deadlift. That's going to lead to lower back issues if you don't know how to do a deadlift right. Like I would, like 80% of people listening to this, myself included, I wouldn't recommend doing a barbell deadlift unless they're really good at strength training and in key with their body. But there's other things as well. And I'll start listing these out. If you know any of them, just start firing away. Otherwise, this podcast is going to get pretty bored of me listing injuries. But yeah, with the hamstring stuff, sometimes if your back of your legs are too flexible, not flexible enough, that could lead to injuries. But you need to do, like, I can't believe when I say this, like Aaron said, some form of deadlift. He didn't really say that, but I'm giving you credit, the benefit of the doubt there. Plantar fasciitis is another injury as well, pain in the feet and stuff. And once again, that might be a foot problem, but it mightn't actually be. Now, it could be a case of too high, too low arches, and you need to change your runners to suit that. And that's why we've said plenty of times on this podcast, get your feet checked out, make sure you got the right thing for your feet. But as well as that, if your foot's rolling over, it could be a problem with weak glutes, and that is a huge theme here. There's a reason I keep saying that. Weak glutes could be a problem. It could be tight hip flexors. Your core could be tight. There could be problems with your lower back, and because of that, you haven't got control when you're running, and your foot strike's hitting too hard, and it's leading to problems then in the feet. A couple of other ones, just really quick.
I felt that actually towards the end of the marathon, actually, that one in the foot. I don't know why. Yeah, well, obviously my hammies kind of went at around the 35k mark, and I had to reduce pace significantly. But I found that in the feet then, so it kind of makes sense because I was tired, the uppers weren't working, and then I started to feel it in my feet, like right into the center of the arch of the foot was getting quite sore on each landing of the foot, really. And I found that night then I had to use a golf ball underneath the arch of my foot to just try and relax the muscle in there. It was so tense and so sore. But yeah, that's one I actually, that makes sense.
Yeah, another reason for that could also be if your hamstrings are tight, your hip flexors, your hip flexors could also have been really tight, which could have changed your running form. And when you start getting tired of stuff in marathons,
the hips are wobbly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Labrador strutting after dinner.
I've told the story before in the podcast when the first one me and Eric did, the horrible one. I remember I was struggling. I was like, oh geez, Eric's running away, he seems fine, he was a little bit ahead of me, and I just saw like the hips just going up and down, side to side, wiggling. I'm like, oh, he's in trouble.
A Although I think that's just how I actually run.
No, Eric. No one could run like your hip girdle was like literally just shooting up to your shoulder, back down towards your knee, and side to side. It was all over the shop. You're like, and that's when weak muscles come in, and then something has to overwork because of that. And then when that happens, you're like, that's the problem. The thing that's overworked, it's like, no, something else happened. So really quickly going through these shin splints as well. That could be that a lot of people suffer with them. That could just simply be just down to your running shoes, or and you might have to just like ease back in the mileage, because like right now with the weather, with gyms closed, everything, everyone's running. So if you're running too fast and you feel it in shin splints, it's like just pull back in the running just a little bit.
Shin splints is a really frustrating one. And when I was a larger man and started it, that's when I suffered with it, because I was like, I got to get fit. I'm going out to run 10K, and I went out and ran and got this pain in my shins and didn't understand why. And the next day I go for a run, I wouldn't feel it. And then after like 3K, they'd show up, and then it was just constant. Then even on walks, then I was starting to feel it, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just muscles that hadn't been worked, but it's actually quite a frustrating one, because you'll rest for a week and you'll massage, and it's really painful to massage. But then when you go, like even after a week, you can go for a run, and then you'll start to feel it again. It's just one of those things that takes time. Like it's really frustrating, and you might only be able to run a kilometer or two, and that's all you can do for a period of time. But it's a really, really frustrating one, and I know a few people who are going through it at the minute, and it just takes time, unfortunately.
That's exactly it. It just takes time. Like some people might say, stretch the calves and stuff more might help because it's the absent muscles, but in a lot of cases it doesn't. And just like you said, Eric, you kind of have to just ease back in the mileage, rest it, take your time, throw some ice on it, and just massage it down, and just hope that over time you start slowly building up again. Maybe add like 10% on top of your mileage each week, and just hope it doesn't flare up. One of the things me and you, Eric, have also talked before is iliotibial band syndrome. So that
I know what that is.
There's a long thing then. Now, me and Eric, we have a bit of an argument on this one. So on this, it's also weak glutes. So basically, if they're not firing up, the knees doing too much, and that's what's causing the pain. It's basically that band running inside your leg is rubbing in against your femur, because your foot's going more pronated, which is inward. Yeah, inward, and it's rubbing against inside your leg. So if your glutes aren't firing, that's going to cause that, and say your legs coming out on that. You foam roll your IT band still, don't you? Or do you still do it, Eric?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So that's.
But I think I foam roll it because, probably because my glutes aren't working enough, and the muscles. The IT band on the outside and on the inside, they get so tight from being overworked. So if I don't, then I find I get the knee pain. But maybe I should be strengthening my glutes, and then I wouldn't have to do it as much. But that's my coping mechanism, I suppose, for the long runs. I'm foam rolling the IT band, the whole quad area as well.
Yeah. Well, like foam rolling around the IT band is great. The whole foam rolling the actual IT band itself. And now there's different literature studies on it, so I'm not going to get too technical on it. But like some people would say that like the IT band is more like a tendon, so it doesn't work with the muscle, so you can't really stretch it or relax it. And if you could relax it, it might be worse, because then it's not doing its job, compared to more so should be the glutes, is the weak glutes and stuff that's not firing. That's really the cause of the problem. So basically that's the last the exercise. I'm not going to mention any more than that, but you're probably thinking, geez, Seán, you mentioned a lot of different fucking exercises. What's different injuries? What's the point in the whole thing? I think the term that we've all said a lot there was weak glutes. Muscle imbalances, something's working, something's not working. So as the strength guy here, the four of us, I definitely say strength training. If you can get one of those mini band things that you wrap above your knees and start doing lateral walk side to side, or even when people do squats, they just go down and up, instead of like pushing the knees out, pushing out from the feet, creating as much tension you can, because that works the glutes as well. So anything that could really work the glute exercise is definitely, if you're doing a lot of running, I'd say definitely invest in a mini band and start doing those exercises, and make sure you're working your core muscles, obviously, and make sure if you're doing exercise like squats and lunges, you're also doing different exercises for deadlifts, single leg deadlifts. I like a lot of single leg stuff, because there's a lot of single leg. When you're running, you're only on one, you're obviously using 2 feet, but you're pressing off one at a time. It's not like a a 2-footed jump and different things like that. So definitely that's called unilateral strength. So add that kind of strength into your program. You might have to reduce your mileage a little bit if you have injuries, and I would definitely recommend mini band work, which is what I'm going to spend the rest of this week doing because of my calf, I have to lower back in that. So that's a 20-minute rant to just say, by the way, Seán, because you've said it on the podcast, stop fucking running so much, take it back a bit, work on your glutes and stuff more, and obviously I've strengthened up my calves because my calves are overworked right now. So, Aaron.
Can I just say what most people are thinking with stretching and prehab work and strengthening?
Yep.
I'm not arsed. I'm really not, and I know I should, and I've listened to you there, and I'm kind of like, shit, I really should. But yeah, I find I'm so bad for doing my stretches. I'm so bad for doing the right exercises, and if I'm going for a 2-hour run, I'm like, I'm not giving another half hour to stretching.
But that's the thing. I don't think you should do it if you're doing a 2-hour run. I think it should be a 5-minute warm up, and that's about it. And then go into the 2-hour run. I think there should be a strength day, or at least 2 strength days on days you're not running on recovery days, where you might go for recovery, 2-3K run, but then you spend your 20 minutes. And it doesn't have to be a certain order. It could be a circuit. You could throw in different exercises that are not necessarily for running, but are just going to get you a bit faster, getting a slam ball, slamming up and down, or different sort of press ups, push ups, different exercises you do like, but then mixing in with that. And like what I'm doing now is I'm doing my push ups, pull ups, and squats, but I have the mini band on. I just leave it on for all 3. So obviously pull ups and push ups, I'm not going to do a whole hell of a lot for running, unless we're sprinting. That's a different conversation entirely. But they're there for when I do my squats and when I push the knees out, it's working on my glutes. So you could just have a mini band on while going through a circuit, or like even walking with a mini band. Your arse is going to be burning, lads. I'm telling you, it's so painful. So like even throwing that stuff, throwing a mini band in for your 5-10 minute warm up. So you start doing lunges and stuff, your knees are going to want to come in together, but you have to force yourself to push the knees out, and that's what the weak glutes is at the moment with a lot of these injuries. Now, you're never gonna be 100%, like it's injury prevention, yes, but you're never gonna have the perfect program to be 100% injury free forever. Injuries happen, it happened to the absolute. Sure, Usain Bolt wasn't his last sprint. He pulled a hamstring. It happens to all of us at every level, but you do something to prevent a little bit. But you just have to make it more fun for yourself, like 2 strength training sessions a week. Throw in some stuff that make little goals you like to do. Like for myself right now, it's increase my push-ups, get more pull-ups in, and then do the lateral walks, the monster walk, that kind of thing for band work, and go with it from there.
Don, can you put up the 3 exercises so when people listen to this on Monday morning, so Monday night we're going to see Coach Seán band coming together, and I'm going to follow it. I'm going to follow it for the next 2-3 weeks.
I'll do you one better. I'll have 20 exercises for you. How's that?
Right. Yeah, but now I'm Eric, and I'm like, I'm not doing 20. I'm not arsed.
I'll have a list of 4 or 5. Then I'll have 20 on top of that and a link for you.
Yeah.
So I've already done that already.
Do. And I will pick the ones I dislike the most, because they're the ones that are hurting the most, obviously. But yeah, I'm going to stick at it for 3 weeks because I think I could probably benefit from it. And we'll talk about it in about 3 weeks, and hopefully people at home can follow along who are feeling a few injuries.
Unreal. Yeah, we'll definitely get to work that on Monday. So people probably listening hopefully on the Monday should be online sometime Monday evening. Right before we wrap up this week of the podcast, Aaron, with your 350-pound disco watch, have you found any more benefits of the Garmin this week, or is it just it does a few things?
Well, I customized it a little bit, changed the dial and stuff like that. What else did I do? I did. Well, I tried to do on Monday for that 5K. I tried to put on a pacing thing, but I put on the wrong setting, and it didn't work out that well. I should have had it on alert instead of whatever it was on. But
there's a little bit of, I suppose, of a kind of a learning curve, and look, I still trying to work through and figure out all the nuts and bolts of my one. Like I only discovered there last week that I could actually set it to create interval runs for me and tell me when I hit the time and create a rest. Up to that point, I was just simply watching the time, watching the distance, and doing it manually, which is obviously, not the most efficient way. So, what I would say to you or anyone else who's getting, new kind of fitness wearable, there's plenty of good, resources on YouTube and obviously online. Like these things are expensive, and if you're only using it for the absolute bare minimum, well then it's not really worth your time or money.
I think Alan in our Facebook group put up something on how to use Garmin for intervals there during the week.
Yeah, he did, and that was a massive for me. So thanks for that, Alan.
Yeah. And on that note, Eric, you see who's something to say there?
It's just I just know that people listening are really annoyed that Aaron's bought this watch and he's giving them nothing. You're supposed to be the inspiration to people getting into this. Start looking into it. You're doing a podcast to inform people. Oh my God! Oh, I pushed a few buttons and the watch still works.
Give me a break.
It's now 3:00.
I'm slowly getting used to it. I know how to go back. You know how to customize settings. You're getting there slowly and surely. Jeez. Yeah.
And does it have a light as well? Did you find out where the light is?
Oh, did I find out where the light is? Yeah.
Well, maybe do
disco light.
Does it have a stopwatch and an alarm clock as well?
Yeah.
My old Casio had a calculator on it. Does it have that?
The alarm clock is actually very good in fairness.
Everyone wants to hear what your opinion on it, because no one buying what the rest of us are selling because we're doing it so long, but they want to know how you find it. So next week I want an in-depth report from you. I don't want to see posts from you because people want to see it from you. I'm getting annoyed like everyone else.
The Aaron files.
The Aaron files. That's what we're gonna. You're gonna give your own team music as well, and you're gonna give us more than 2 sentences on the light on your watch. Right. Anyway, my rant is over, Seán. I'm sorry. I brought it down, but I just have to get it out.
You just see the eyes on Aaron. It's the whole, listen, seriously.
You better leave me alone.
And on that note, I suppose, anyone else anything to add before we wrap up this episode of the podcast?
Seán, how many minutes a week do you spend thinking of your glutes and other people's glutes? And
yes! I love when I poke Aaron. He comes out with something great.
On that note, guys, thank you for listening to this episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. Don't forget to share the podcast on your Instagram stories. Follow us add yourself onto the Any Given Day Run Club, where I can find out more details about your glutes and give you all the help you need on that. On that note, Aaron, yeah. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the podcast, guys. That's it from all 4 of us. Take care.
Bye.